Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar. I am so excited to be connecting with you on two topics that I love to talk about, which means that we're going to be here for a little bit of time. I don't know exactly when we'll be done, but we'll be finished exactly at the right time. So glad that you've made the choice to join us today. And if you're watching the recording, that's okay too. We appreciate that you're catching up on the recording. I know it's basically impossible to find the perfect time. I'm just putting myself a little clock so I know exactly what time we're at, and I make sure that I stay and respect your time. So, digestion and detoxification, an essential key to better health. My name is Julie Boyer. I have over 15 years of experience in nutrition and wellness. I am partnered with USANA Health Sciences, and my role, it's called Ruby Director, for those of you who don't know what that means. Basically, it just means I've reached a leadership level with USANA. I'm the founder of the 30-Day Whole Body Detox, author of the 30 Days of Gratitude book, and I'm the podcast host of the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast. Before we get into the presentation, I thought it would be okay if I share a little bit more about my story and who I am and where I came from. So before I was introduced to USANA, I was actually living overseas and I was training for my second Ironman triathlon. Now, really interestingly, I did a full Ironman triathlon and trained for my second Ironman triathlon and never lost a single pound. I was happy with the way that I looked. I wasn't concerned about my size or my shape. I knew that I was fit. I also knew that I was, considered heavier. It didn't matter though. I kept doing it, and I loved the challenge of triathlon. I also, when I lived overseas, I got to do things like climb mountains and really cool things. I was teaching French overseas. It was really awesome. But I was training for this triathlon, and a really good friend of mine, her name is Leanne Jacobs. She sent me these nutritionals to try called a health pack. She's like, "You're training for Ironman, you need vitamins." And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm sure I need vitamins for sure. Whatever. I'm taking a one a day. I'm good." And for me, the biggest surprise was that within 5 days of taking these nutritionals, I noticed that I was recovering faster from my workouts. I wasn't feeling as sore, and I was sleeping better, but for less time, and waking up feeling more rested. So I knew there was something to these vitamins. I did not know what was in them or anything, but I knew that they would have a benefit. And so what happened is, after I did my first, that Ironman with just taking the supplements, I ended up coming back to Canada, and I actually started my USANA business because Leanne, one of the beautiful blondes, with the longer hair, that's actually the first time we went to convention in Salt Lake City, with Leanne, Andrea, and my best friend, who's also named Leanne in the front there. But she said to me, "There's a business here." And I said, "Okay, sure. Sounds good. Here's my credit card." Leanne and I have been friends for years, and I knew I wanted to go into business with her, and I just didn't know what. And I knew I trusted the product. So it was a pretty quick decision for me that ended up really changing the entire trajectory of my life unexpectedly. So from that point, after I was introduced to USANA and went to the convention in Salt Lake City, I actually dropped out of school. So I had come back to Canada to go to school to be a teacher, to study to be an actual, a proper teacher. And I fell in love with the company and the products and the business model because I love to teach and I love to educate. And this is a huge part of what we do. So I was like, I'm going to just do this in USANA. And everyone said I was absolutely crazy. And maybe I was, but I did it, and I jumped in with 2 feet. So some of the really amazing gifts that have come out of my USANA business is it's introduced me to so many, growth avenues and personal development, and also all the nutrition training that I've had, the wellness education, the experts that I've worked with to learn and grow. I wrote my book, 30 Days of Gratitude, while still having a USANA business. Actually, it was when we launched the 30-Day Whole Body Detox. I basically did both of those at the same time. I don't know what I was doing, but I figured it out. And I had a very young child at the time too. And, the 30-Day Whole Body Detox, that was an idea that came from myself, a beautiful naturopathic doctor that I worked with, and another nutritionist. And it grew from a 12-page PDF to, by the time we did the 8th edition, it was a 100-page guidebook with 100 recipes and all these amazing ways to do a healthy detox, and worked with so many experts over the years building that program. And then, last year I also birthed my podcast, Wake Up with Gratitude, where we talk all things gratitude. And, I'm really certain that having a foundation of gratitude is what allows you to have and live your healthiest self. Without that foundation of gratitude, you can take all the supplements in the world, but you're just not going to get the same results. So I love speaking. I love being in front of a crowd. I miss being able to see you and, react with you while we're doing presentations. But I did wear my sparkly shoes. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to show you. I wore my sparkly shoes for you today, and I'm still wearing yoga pants. But yeah, I just love being here with you, and I just so appreciate everything. Okay, so here's my life today. USANA is my full-time profession, and I also have the chance, because of the way that this business works, I get the chance to also do so many of the things I love, like building a podcast, like taking photos, and I have a card business to go with my book, and there's myself with my husband and our dog, our floofer, and all these amazing things. My daughter's now 10 years old. She's been homeschooling for 3 years, and I've just had so many gifts from this USANA business. And one of the biggest things that I have studied and learned about over the years is the importance of understanding how digestion and detoxification works. And that's why I thought it was just such an important time for us to review, revisit, or maybe for the first time, think about how digestion and detoxification works in our bodies. So what you're going to learn is we're going to talk about how digestion works. We're going to talk about what detoxification is, and we're going to learn about the how USANA products support a healthy gut and our digestion, and then how to share these products. So when we think about what true health looks like, these are two really important components. First is being able to digest foods completely, including the absorption of nutrients. And the second is to be able to eliminate waste naturally. Sorry about that. Well, we'll just continue. So when we think about digestion, we often think about it happening in our midsection, but digestion actually begins in the brain. So I want you to close your eyes. I can't see you, so I'm going to trust that you're going to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine a beautiful brick oven. It's heated to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. And your favorite pizza is on a pizza stone. Maybe it's just a simple, margarita pizza with good, not too much sauce, just the right amount, and mozzarella, really fresh, beautiful mozzarella, and then a little bit of basil after the pizza comes out, and you see them slide the pizza into that beautiful wood-fired oven, and you see the bubbles pop up all around the crust. And they pull it out and you put the basil on top of it, shred the basil, and then slice it and put it on a plate right in front of you. Open your eyes. How many people are salivating? You can raise your hand if you're salivating, right? Oh my goodness, right? That is how digestion begins. It begins with, just even thinking and seeing food. Okay, awesome. You can just lower your hand after that, because I'll be asking you to raise your hand throughout the presentation. Oh, people are drooling over here. Oh my goodness. Okay. So what that does is that when you start thinking about food, you're thinking about digestion. So your stomach starts to produce hydrochloric acid, your salivary glands produce saliva, and your pancreas also starts to produce the digestive enzymes. So we're going to talk about the importance of saliva. So I'm sure so many people right now are thinking about saliva, right? Just me? Okay. So this is often an overlooked part of digestion, and really the real powerful things that are going on in our saliva. So there's so many functions of saliva. One of them is that it's a mild painkiller. So you might have known this before, when you have a little canker sore, if you get a little bit of saliva in your mouth and you kind of let it pool where the canker sore is, it will help relieve the pain. You'll find sometimes a sore throat will feel better after a meal because of that mild painkiller effect of saliva. It's actually a really, really strong opioid, but it's in such small quantities that, thank goodness, or we'd be walking around high on our own saliva all the time, right? So awesome knowing that. I just want you to think about that your saliva is a mild painkiller. The other thing that our saliva does is it protects us from bad bacteria with the mucus or mucin that is part of the saliva. So that's the part that I don't know if you remember when you were a kid, but the first time you actually, created the like saliva bubble, that's what mucin is. And what it does is it creates a little net in your mouth, in your oral cavity, and it collects the bad bacteria. And then your saliva has antibacterial properties. So it actually gets rid of the bad bacteria. But what it does is it's a really important balance. So it doesn't get rid of all the bacteria. It allows some of the good bacteria to stay behind so that the good bacteria is filling up the space and keeping out other bad bacteria and germs that we don't want in our oral cavity. Okay. So now that we understand why saliva is so critically important to our health, so we want to these are really interesting reasons why we brush our teeth when we do. And I didn't understand this. I've been rereading a book called Gut by Juliana Enders. It is so interesting and so clever if you want to learn more. A lot of my information came from this book. I mean, so many sources, but I was just rereading this. So what it does is, if you want to keep that balance of the good bacteria versus the bad bacteria, we want to brush our teeth before bed. Why? We want to get rid of as much of the bad bacteria before we go to sleep, because it's going to proliferate while we sleep. So the reason why bad bacteria proliferates while we sleep is that we actually produce less saliva while we sleep. That is a good thing. If not, we would wake up in a pile of our own saliva every morning, and that would be very yucky. So, but that makes more space for the bad bacteria, and it's not being swept away by the antibacterial properties of saliva. When we use an oral probiotic, what that does is it actually helps to have more good bacteria in your mouth before you go to sleep, which then decreases the amount of bad bacteria that can proliferate while you're sleeping. The bad bacteria causes a lot of things. The biggest one that we'll notice most immediately, of course, happens to be halitosis or bad breath. The book is simply called Gut, the inside story of our body's most underrated organ. And then when we wake up, this is super interesting because I never thought about brushing immediately when I woke up. But when we wake up, what we do is we then clean the bad bacteria that's gathered in our mouth overnight. So USANA has an amazing set of a set of toothpaste and probiotics for us to use for oral care. So what I want to mention about the toothpaste that makes it special is the toothpaste actually uses something called a postbiotic. And the postbiotic is, it's called postbiotic ADP-1. It's an inactive form of lactobacillic paracasei. And why this is important is that probiotic would not stay alive in a toothpaste because of the way we process toothpaste. But this form of this probiotic in this way actually does help to have more beneficial bacteria in our oral cavity. So that's one way. And then after you brush your teeth, you then do the oral probiotic at night because, as it says, our powerful oral probiotic blend is designed to fight back by naturally colonizing your mouth with beneficial bacteria that crowds out the bad, inhibiting the growth of unwanted strands. So this to me was like an aha moment. Understanding the function of saliva and why we have a probiotic for our mouth, this just brought the two pieces together. The really important thing for you to take away from this is the bacteria living in your mouth and the bacteria living in your gut are completely unrelated. The strains are so far apart that taking a probiotic for your gut health is not going to do anything for your oral health. So there is a real reason and purpose to have both. All right. So now hopefully we chew our food, right? We're going to chew our food and we're going to chew it and we're going to chew it and we're going to chew it. And then it's going to go down the esophagus. And remember, there's no teeth in our esophagus, right? The food's going to move through action called peristalsis. But once it's been, once we swallow it, it's not going to get any smaller, right? So chew your food. And what I want you to understand about the stomach is it's angled in such a way so that liquid actually basically goes right through, doesn't need to be digested, and solids will kind of land on the bottom part there of the stomach. And it takes about 20 to 30 minutes for the hydrochloric acid in the stomach to break that down into smaller particles that the small intestine can recognize once they've been, digested with digestive enzymes. Super important to recognize that hydrochloric acid is really going to be made a lot less strong if we drink a lot of water. So my husband, when we first got together, I know he hates it when I tell this story, but I think it's really important. He used to chew a bite of food and have a swallow of water with every bite of food. And I was like, honey, I love you so much, but you're like not going to get any nutrition from your food if you don't chew it. And he has learned over the years. He's actually amazing. He barely drinks water with his meals. I don't drink any liquids with my meals, maybe the occasional glass of wine, but generally I drink my water after my meal. So just keep that in mind. If you drink a full glass of water before your meal, you're really diluting your hydrochloric acid and affecting your ability to digest your food. Okay. So once the it's called chyme, the digested material then is ready to move out of the stomach, this is going to travel to the small intestine. And what happens here is just before the small intestine, there's a little sort of valve where digestive enzymes get squirted in. And those come from, remember I said at the beginning that digestion starts in the brain, and I mentioned the pancreas and digestive enzymes. So those digestive enzymes are ready. From the minute you start to salivate and are excited to eat your digestive enzymes that you produce naturally already, they come from the liver and the pancreas, and they're squirted in. And these digestive enzymes help to further digest the food so that the small intestine can do all the work to absorb the nutrients. So the small intestine does the hard work. The small intestine, with the exception of sugar that goes straight into our bloodstream. Okay. So when we have sugar, it's going to go right through that aisle, fast track, go right into the bloodstream. It's not going to go through the small intestine, which is why our kids get sugar crashes. Okay. But the small intestine is doing all the work. It's going to absorb our nutrients and do all the hard work. And that is why it is so long. Like if you were actually to lay out your small intestine with all the folds and everything, it would be, an incredibly long organ, and it's all folded because it needs the space to absorb our nutrients. So important to love our small intestine. Okay. So I mentioned a little bit about the enzymes that are supporting digestion. And our pancreas, it naturally secretes digestive enzymes that help to break down fats. So those are called lipase. Anything of ACE is an enzyme. Carbohydrates are broken down by amylase, and proteins are broken down by protease. Now, there are many factors that can reduce our ability to digest food efficiently and effectively. A simple one is that if you're eating and you're crouched over and you're kind of crushing your internal organs, you're going to have a hard time digesting. Sitting up straight in your chair, and your mom, and your dad that were telling you to sit up at the dinner table, it's not just because they wanted you to have good posture. It's actually really good for your digestion. Or standing up after a meal. So, and if you are, let's say you're on dishes duty, it's a good thing maybe because you're standing up and moving around the kitchen, right? But if you eat and go lie down immediately, you are really going to affect your ability to digest food because of the way that gravity works. As we age as well, our body produces fewer digestive enzymes. So what you may notice is foods that you digested more easily a number of years ago, now they just don't feel so good, and they tend to sit in your, that you feel like they're sitting in your gut. So USANA has a set of digestive enzymes. Now, before I go any further about USANA products, I just want to give you a quick overview of why you would choose to invest in USANA supplements versus other. There are tons of digestive enzymes on the markets. There aren't a lot of oral probiotics, but there's lots of options for digestive enzymes, probiotics, the things I'm going to share with you today. What makes USANA products different is that the products are manufactured in a pharmaceutical grade, FDA approved facility. So the quality of the products is actually at pharmaceutical product grade versus supplement grade. Okay, so Health Canada, I'm from Canada, has a level of quality standard for supplements. USANA chooses voluntarily to meet the standards for pharmaceutical products, which means what is on the label is in the bottle every single time, every single batch, guaranteed. The raw materials are tested when they get to the warehouse. This product actually was not available for almost 18 months in Canada several years ago because of a raw material issue with spirulina. USANA was no longer to get spirulina to the quality level that was required for their product. They had to reformulate the entire product, ended up with something that's even better, if you ask me. But they were willing to take a product off the market for that long to get it right and not compromise on quality. The other thing is that the products are used by over 3,000 elite Olympic and professional athletes that trust their health to USANA. And part of the reason is A, the products actually work at a cellular level, but B, USANA has a $1 million athlete guarantee, meaning that if any of our sponsored athletes were to test positive for a banned substance and it was traced back to USANA, they'd be reimbursed up to $1 million. We have athletes that have been with USANA for like 15 or more years because they trust their health to USANA through their whole career. So that's just a little bit of why you would choose this quality of product versus something you might be able to get at your local grocery store or even a supplement shop. So these digestive enzymes, they contain all the enzymes I mentioned in the previous slide. So I mentioned there's lipase, amylase, and protease. So those are in there as well. And then they also add different enzymes, bromelain and papain, that help to digest protein, which is one of the things that gets harder to digest as we age. Lactase, so that's the enzyme needed to digest milk sugar, which is lactose. And then artichoke extract. So this was the new ingredient that they introduced, and it's been used in herbal medicine for years. And now it's really good for heartburn or mild stomach upset after a large meal. You can take this product before the meal, during a meal, or after a meal. I tend to, so in the past, I used to say in the past, when you're traveling, always have your digestive enzymes. I feel like that's not really relevant anymore. I definitely would have my digestive enzymes anytime I would eat outside of the house. I do have a sensitive gut, so I just would always have them in my purse. And now, of course, we don't eat out, so I don't need them. But occasionally I'll find myself having a little bit too much at dinner and I just don't feel good. And I can tell that my meal hasn't properly digested, and I'll take a couple enzymes. And 9 times out of 10, it resolves itself very, very quickly. So I'm really happy. This is not a product that I order every single month for me. Now, there are some people that mentioned in chat that this product is something they take every day. So that would be, that's going to be for you to figure out for you. But anyone can benefit from a digestive enzyme, especially those that suffer from lactose intolerance. It's a lot, you can get an over-the-counter product that helps with lactose intolerance, but this one helps with not just lactose, right? It helps with digesting everything. You might even have, if you have trouble digesting greens, you might need a digestive enzyme. And then it definitely helps if you feel bloated after a meal. And if you're doing takeout, like a new takeout, or you're having very greasy or spicy food, the digestive enzyme can really, really help with that. And it pairs really well with the probiotic because they do different things. I often get the question, like, if I have the enzyme, do I need the probiotic? Well, yes, because they're totally different things. So there's some great stories that people are sharing in the chat about how the digestive enzymes have helped them. Okay, so we're going to talk about intestinal barrier. And speaking of water, I'm going to grab a sip. Okay, so we need to focus on keeping our intestinal barrier healthy. And what that means is, so I mentioned that, pardon me. Every time I want to point to something on my screen, it changes the slide. I mentioned earlier that, the way the small intestine is created, it's like a really tight shag carpet, right? It's got all these, we call them villi. In each of the villi is where you absorb your nutrients. They're all fed with an individual capillary. So it goes, the nutrients from your food, when they're broken down, are going into your bloodstream, getting filtered through the liver, okay? And then going directly to your heart first, okay? So your nutrients, when your barrier is healthy, That's the process. They're going to be absorbed and they're going to circulate through your liver first and then go straight to your heart, because your heart, of course, is necessary for you to keep on living. I will mention something that I actually didn't realize until I was rereading this book. Did you know that fat actually gets absorbed instead of through the capillary, through the lymphatic system? And the lymphatic system is similar to our capillaries, except for it doesn't have any pumping mechanism. So it's all moved by a gravity and movement. And so fat, what happens is after a fatty meal, the fat will all basically pass through the intestinal barrier and then gather in the lymphatic system and then shoot straight to the heart. So there really is something to pay attention to by the amount of especially saturated animal fat that we're having in one meal can really affect our heart. On the other hand, oils that come from like avocado and olive oil and nuts and seeds, those same oils, those same fats actually lubricate things in the heart and are really good for you. So that to me was so interesting. I didn't realize that that's how fats circulated through our body. Now, what happens is if we have a barrier that's inflamed or not tight or that's got leakage, what happens now is instead of the proper food molecules being absorbed into the bloodstream in their smallest usable form, we get undigested food particles, microorganisms, toxins that actually will go through where they're not supposed to and end up in the bloodstream. So if you've ever heard of something like called grain brain for people that have an intolerance to gluten, that's because these large, undigested pieces of gluten are getting through into your bloodstream and going to the brain, and it's affecting our brain in a way that it shouldn't. So keeping the junctions tight is our goal. So we're going to talk first about what we want to do to reduce to keep the barrier healthy. Things we want to reduce in our diet. So taking, of course, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like an Advil, reducing processed food, chemical food additives, wheat gluten. Not everybody's sensitive to wheat gluten, okay? But technically wheat is actually a poison. So just be cautious of your dosage with wheat gluten. Same with alcohol and caffeine. All of these things can help just keep our intestinal barrier healthy. Now, what do we do? Let's talk more about what we can do to build a strong barrier. Fermented foods. Okay, raise your hand in your chat if you've ever tried kimchi, sauerkraut, pickles, tempeh, or miso, kombucha. Okay, type in chat if you have a sourdough starter in your kitchen now. I want to hear from you. Who's making sourdough bread, right? Amazing fermented food. And if your if your starter is more than like 50 years old, I definitely want to hear about it. Okay. So many great ways to add. I'm a big fan of kombucha. I don't worry about the sugar in kombucha because the SCOBY, the symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, actually eats the sugar to ferment the drink. So don't worry about it. All right, Laura's neighbor has an old sourdough. There you go. Oh, someone needs a starter for Jennifer, so maybe connect with her. All right, I'm sure my friend Dwayne has he has a sourdough starter in Ontario. Anyways, so fermented foods can be added to your diet. And I'm curious, who's heard of prebiotics? You've probably heard of probiotics, but who has heard of prebiotics? 10 people. Okay, cool. All right, so a few of you have heard. That's great. Okay, so prebiotics it's actually indigestible carbohydrates, and it includes something called inulin, okay, a non-starch polysaccharide. I'm just saying the names that are going to be important later. Inulin, soluble fiber, which includes psyllium husk, and then I'm going to talk about resistant starch. Now, why prebiotics are so important is this part. Each of these types of prebiotic feeds the different species of gut bacteria. Prebiotic is food for your healthy gut bacteria. Now, resistant starch, so the third category includes beans, legumes, whole grains, starchy fruits and vegetables. And I love this one. Potatoes and rice that are cooked and then cooled. So for example, if you make your potatoes and make a potato salad the next day, you're actually going to get the benefits of this resistant starch. Isn't it awesome how food can be so beneficial to our gut in so many ways? So there's so many things we can do with our diet to keep our gut healthy. That being said, we all need more fiber. Okay. There's no way around it. You need fiber, and most of us need added fiber in our diet. Fiber is a prebiotic. As you saw, there's all different sources, and we need different types of sources because each has specific benefits. USANA has this product called Fiber G Plus. I love it. A bag probably lasts me about 2 months because I don't really measure it anymore. I probably use about a tablespoon in my morning shake. It is, if you're really struggling with your gut health, starting with fiber might be a really good place to start. Now, it really helps with bowel regularity, which means you need to poop at least 1 to 3 times a day. If you're not pooping 1 to 3 times a day, get Fiber G. If you're pooping more than 3 times a day, get Fiber G. You need to tighten up your stool. And really important, we've got to drink a lot of extra water with fiber because we need to move it, right? It's very dry. Don't have Fiber G on its own. Must drink so much water. And then if you are starting on this product, please start very slowly with a teaspoon at a time. I put it in my morning shake, but it's flavorless, so you can add it to whatever you want. That's kind of like a saucy thing. I mean, imagine you could sprinkle it on a salad if you wanted to, but I wouldn't want to because, it'd have to be, it'd be fairly dry. And then, there's 12 grams per rounded tablespoon. So I probably get 1 rounded tablespoon from this, and then I get the rest of the fiber through my diet. So the key ingredients, remember I was talking about those prebiotics before. You have added, okay, so there you go. Maria has added it to her salads. So remember I talked about psyllium before, right? As ways that are prebiotics. So psyllium is in the Fiber G. It is a bulking agent that helps food digest and empty from the stomach more slowly. So this is also really good if you're to avoid spiking your blood sugar, right? Remember, sugar goes right through your gut. When you've got fiber in there, it helps slow things down. It doesn't allow the sugar to move as quickly. So that's a really, really good thing. It really does, and you feel fuller longer. Remember I said also I want to highlight inulin as another type of prebiotic. So this inulin promotes the growth of beneficial bifidobacteria. It is, again, food for the probiotics. And it acts like an insoluble fiber that carries toxins and waste and helps with elimination. Okay. So soluble, insoluble fiber, they're both necessary and we need them both. So that's why they're in Fiber G. Okay. So my question to you is, who needs Fiber G? Now, we're about halfway through, and I wanted to ask you, how many of you here, well, maybe you can post in the chat. You're going to fit into one of 3 categories. So if you're watching live, so one is going to be, you already love and share USANA products. So you're a USANA associate. 2 is you're a customer. So you may be using some USANA products, but maybe not these ones. And 3, you are neither of the above. And you're here to learn, whether it be about USANA or just about digestion and detox. So if you post in the chat, just so I can get a kind of an idea of who's here. Awesome. So yeah, 1, 2, or 3. Sometimes the guests are nervous to post their numbers, and that's okay. I totally understand that. Okay, so what's important for you to understand is the reason I'm sharing things like who needs Fiber G is you're going to think about, do I need it for myself? And then you're also going to think about who in my life would benefit from it. So I want you to be thinking about those things when I say who needs this product. Think about, or even write down someone's name that you're like, you know what, this person could really use this. So generally, pretty much anyone can use it. And it is really good with the reset program because some people don't go to the bathroom on reset, and it sometimes is a fiber issue. I enjoy it with my morning NutriMeal, which is one of the products USANA has. NutriMeal is a full meal replacement, and I use the plant-based one called NutriMeal Free. Super important to start slowly, very, very slowly, because it can cause a lot of problems. And then I wanted to mention about children. So my friend Amy wrote a great book for kids on poop, and it's called Mr. Poop Knows Poop. So if someone wants to write that in chat, Mr. Poop Knows Poop, that's Amy Ballantyne's book. We need to talk about poop with our kids. They need to understand digestion. Honestly, we check our kids' poops when they're babies and they have diapers, but we maybe generally don't even look at it again ever. Children do not get enough fiber. 100% can guarantee you there's not a kid that gets enough fiber. So my kid, uses her Nutrimeal and we add a bit of Fiber G. Listen, you're not getting enough fiber. 97% of North Americans get only 15 grams of fiber a day, and that's half of what we need. Okay. So make sure you're talking about your Mr. Poop Knows Poop with your kids. Okay. Then the last step in digestion is that final absorption before we eliminate. So the majority of the nutrients are absorbed in the small intestine, and then what's left moves into the large intestine, which can take up to 16 hours to fully digest a meal. So the small intestine can have 2 or 3 meals while things are still moving really nice and slowly through the large intestine. Okay, so what's important here is that the large intestine is where calcium is absorbed. There are also additional vitamins that are absorbed, as well as some essential fatty acids. And then whatever's left is eliminated 1 to 3 times a day. Okay. So don't forget about your large intestine. Small intestine does most of the work, but we can't forget about the really important, none of your intestines are not important. Okay. All right. So let's talk about probiotics now. Probiotics, key to great health, pro-life, promoting life. Who's excited about the microbiome? Is it just me, or am I crazy over here? Like, I freaking love this. So we were so excited when we sequenced the human genome, because we're like, we get it now, we got the DNA, we're all good. And then we realized that actually the number of cells in our microbiome, so bacteria, outnumber the cells in our body by 10 to 1. So I have news for you. You are actually just a big walking bag of bacteria. Sorry, friends. The bacteria rule our environment, and we need to learn and understand how important our microbiome is, okay? They do live all over our body. I talked about the oral microbiome, but generally concentrated in our gastrointestinal tract. Now, did you know that some of our important nutrients are actually made by the gut bacteria? So some of our vitamins, B vitamins, 75% of your immune system lives in the gut. There's never been a more important time to take care of our immune system. Okay. 75% of your immune system lives in the gut. There are more neurotransmitters in the gut than in the brain. So if you're suffering from mood challenges, you're feeling down, I encourage you to think about gut health. Okay. As well as doing all the things that are so important to boost mood, especially this time of year. Think about your gut. And probiotics can help with detoxification. And did you know that when you poop, you're actually pooping out mostly bacteria? Yep. That's why we take probiotic every day, because we're pooping most of it out. So let's talk about the USANA probiotic. So USANA uses the hardiest strands. So bifidobacterium, bacterium, and lactobacillus. I don't remember the rest of it. Doesn't matter. 2 really strong strains that are actually meant to survive the harsh environment of the stomach. Remember, I talked about hydrochloric acid before? We don't want our probiotic to be killed in the stomach. So the reason USANA uses only these 2 strands is because they are actually clinically proven to survive the harsh acidic environment of the stomach and get to the small intestine. And these strands help to proliferate the other strands of bacteria that are in our small intestine. They take them with probiotic. You can do it with or after a meal, just because it's something you would get from food, and you get 12 billion per packet live. It says on the packet you can take it every day or every other day. And before I go to the poop slide, I just wanted to mention that USANA is super smart. They put inulin in our probiotic, and I'm going to let your brain remember why it is so cool that they chose to put inulin in a probiotic product. So if you know why, type in chat. And if you're watching the recording, hopefully you'll make the connection. So who needs probiotic? Anyone who poops and anyone who doesn't poop, because it can help you if you're pooping, because as I said, you're pooping out mostly bacteria. And yay, Shay got the answer. Woohoo! And then anyone who doesn't poop, it can also help if you're having issues going to the bathroom. I didn't want to finish this area of talking about fiber and healthy snacks without talking about USANA's whole bio bar, because it has probiotics, prebiotics, all these amazing phytonutrients for great health. super, I mean, on the go or an afternoon snack. Doesn't cause bloating. It's really filling. Again, if you're looking for extra fiber in a tasty way, it does travel well. It doesn't melt in the car. And for those that do USANA as a business, it's an easy way to share. So you can share a whole bio bar with some Nutrimeal and some probiotic for someone to try. Okay, detoxification. All right. Last third of the presentation. So there are several major organs of detoxification, but we're going to focus really on the liver today because that is, of course, where most of the detoxification takes place. So detoxification is the removal of harmful substances from the body, which includes all substances that affect your body, mind, and spirit. They can be internal, natural toxins, external from our environment, and of course, emotional toxins, which really manifest through hormones. So external toxins. Listen, I have 2 slides full of external toxins. There are so many ways that we are being exposed to toxins. A lot of them are in our homes. I'm recording this in the winter, and I know that a lot of you right now, it's really cold and you can't open your windows to flow the air through your home. So getting rid of a lot of toxins that we use in our home is super critical to reduce our toxic load. Okay, so just mentioning a few of these, high fructose corn syrup, we mentioned processed foods, changing to an underarm deodorant that is non-toxic is really great. Some of nobody's dry cleaning their clothes anymore. Never mind. Your household cleaners is a big one. There's a number of great other network marketing companies that have excellent household cleaners that are non-toxic and that also offer clean natural deodorants as well. And then plastics, we know like reducing our plastics is so important, not just for the toxicity, but for the environment, how much plastic waste we're using. We're in a weird time because, I want to reduce the amount of plastic that I use, but I can't bring reusable containers anymore to fill up. Like bulk doesn't even exist right now. So I know in Ontario, there's a refillery market, which uses glass. And I know it brings your refills to your home. So if I was in Ontario, I would look into the refillery market. Just so many things. You can laundry detergent. Please don't use fabric softener sheets. Use wool dryer balls. A couple of drops of an essential oil in the dryer ball will make your laundry static free and smell great. Emotional toxins. Oh boy. This is a big one for so many of us right now. Raise your hand if you're struggling with any of these emotional toxins right now, right? I mean, some of the emotional toxins might just be living in the same house as us right now, and we can't get away from them. So really being understanding like mental health, what it does is it actually does affect our ability to detox because it changes our hormonal balance in our body. And when our liver isn't functioning very well, that is, it makes it harder for us to manage the emotions, because emotions are linked to literally chemicals in our bodies. So we want to, that's a whole other, listen, if you want to if you want to talk about mental health strategies, that's a whole other webinar for you, but I do have a podcast episode that I can share. So just message me if that's for you. Okay. So your liver. Why do we love the liver so much? Well, it's involved in so many things, blood clotting, immune factor production, bile production, which helps with digestion, cholesterol, triglyceride. Cholesterol is not a bad thing. Our body actually needs cholesterol. It needs both kinds. It's when our LDL cholesterol gets oxidized that it's an issue, but we need cholesterol to live. We can't live without it, actually. Regulating hormones, ladies, listen, perimenopause, menopause time, your liver is involved. Okay. So going back to reducing the amount of toxins, changing the way that you eat, all of these things help affect your liver. So the more we support our liver, the better we actually can help with hormones in perimenopause and menopause. Stores our nutrients, helps with our glucose balance through glycogen storage, and of course, general detoxification. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of how the liver works. It's going to be very simple, but basically, if you can see the video and you look at my hand. So what happens is when something comes into the liver, it's basically a two-phase procedure. So it's going to I mean, it's fat soluble, so your body can't remove it. It needs to be turned into waste, which is water soluble. So it comes into the liver, goes into stage one. And often this stage one right here, it often is a little bit of a toxic byproduct, but that's okay because it's going to go through the stage two and then be eliminated as waste. But what happens with our lifestyle is this part here gets blocked up. This channel is blocked up. So we're drinking too much, we're taking too many medications, we're full of emotional toxins, we're eating processed foods, we're having chemical additives in our food. And so your liver's like, those are priorities, I must process them first. And then the natural things like our estrogen and cholesterol, which your body naturally processes and eliminates, then they get blocked up here. They can't go anywhere. They can't go through to the other side and get eliminated through water soluble waste. So then what happens is these byproducts go back into the bloodstream, and those are the things that are causing issues. So when we eliminate the things that are keeping our liver from doing its optimal function, that is what is causing a lot of the challenges that we see. Our liver works so hard. Our liver does most of its work while we're sleeping. It never stops working. Here's the thing. You can't do a detox because you're always detoxing. The reason we talk about reducing those toxic factors in our life is because it just makes our livers work a lot easier. And our liver will work so hard until it's like down to 25% function before you even notice that there's an issue. So we need to love our liver and take such good care of it. So speaking of liver support, so USANA has a great product called HEPA Plus or Hepasil DTX in the US. This is foundational for everyone that lives in our toxic world today. So the liver support has this technology called Intelligence, and it's the detox support complex. Intelligence is a technology that is patented to USANA. We actually have 3 fully issued patents to USANA for the technology of combining antioxidants and minerals in such a way and phytonutrients that it actually affects the cells and cell signaling and tells the body to do something. It is a really incredible process that USANA has discovered. And to get a patent, first of all, to get a patent in nutritionals is like, it's unheard of. And to get 3 patents for this technology, again, is what sets USANA so far apart. So the Intelligence technology exists in a number of different products. This one is called the Detox Support Complex because it specifically helps support healthy, natural detoxification, right? You're detoxing all the time. So it's perfect for maintaining a slow-paced, healthy detoxification. It's got phytochemicals, green tea extract, milk thistle extract. So you might see a product that's sold that says milk thistle extract and has nothing else. Milk thistle extract alone is great. But when you combine it with all the things that you see in USANA's HEPA product, it actually is an incredible game changer. You might not know this or notice this, but USANA's HEPA tablet is actually a 2-layer tablet. It's 2 different colors. And it combines ingredients that normally would not be able to be in the same tablet because they don't combine. So they actually, again, a technology that USANA patented called hybrid technology allows these liver supporting nutrients to be in the same tablet. And you cannot get that anywhere else. Who needs HEPA Plus? So those that need to maintain healthy cholesterol levels. Remember I said, if your liver is working really efficiently, it's easier for your body to process and eliminate cholesterol naturally. Basically anyone who has a liver. And for those that, maybe choose to drink alcohol on a more regular basis, I would definitely consider HEPA Plus. Awesome addition to the USANA Reset program. That's a different program. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, just ask the person who invited you to watch the webinar and they'll explain what the Reset program is. And I would like to also mention that HEPA Plus actually is great if you take it before bed. So you can take all 3, the daily dose at once, doesn't need to be spread out throughout the day. And if you take it before bed, maybe after you've had a couple of drinks, it just helps your liver to do its job really, really well. Okay. All right, friends. Now, before I get into what's next, I just want to pause for one moment and just make sure that do we have any questions that you'd like me to address? I can take a couple of minutes to address specific questions that you might have had. I might have missed them, But you can type in the chat now if you've got any questions that you'd like me to try and answer. Thanks, Paula. All right. And usually questions come privately after, and that's totally okay. So what happens now? So you've seen all this information and you're like, I don't know what I need to do now. So I'm going to tell you what you're going to do now. There's two simple things that you can do at this point. Well, you could choose to do nothing, but likely you're going to want to do something because you're excited, you're interested, and you want to support your healthy lifestyle. Lori has a great question. So I'm going to pause on this and go back to HEPA Plus for reset. As we are, reset is actually, we're taking out so many liver loaders and toxins and other things from our diet when we're doing the reset. Giving our liver that support while we're doing it is so helpful. Often, actually, when we do lose weight, what happens is a lot of toxins are stored in our fat cells. So our fat cells, as they are reducing, toxins get eliminated through the fat cells. And if your liver isn't functioning optimally, you might actually feel worse when you're doing a weight loss program and you don't understand why. Having adequate liver support during any weight loss program can be such a beautiful game changer. Okay, so I'm guessing you're going to choose option A or option B. So option A is to join our preferred customer program. So if you're not sure how to do this, you get in touch with the person who invited you to watch this presentation. What I love about this program is there's no minimum order, no setup fee. You get the premier product pricing. It should say preferred product pricing. Products are delivered to your front door. Yay! Because no one's going out of the house anyways. And did you know this? As a preferred customer with USANA, you can share your favorite USANA products with other people through your own personal link and earn product credits when they purchase. How cool is that? Now, other people watching might already maybe be part of the customer program or have been wondering a little bit about, how USANA might work as a business. Now, this was not a business presentation, and this is not meant to replace a USANA business presentation. So you're likely going to have some questions for the person that invited you if that's what you're thinking about. But some of you might be here thinking about being part of this team. So same as starting as a customer, there is no minimum order. In Canada, it's $11.95 for a welcome kit. In the US, it's $9.95 US. You get the preferred product pricing again. So the pricing is the same. Products are delivered to your front door. And now when you share with friends, you earn cash commissions, which is one of 8 ways to earn income with USANA. You get to connect with like-minded peeps daily, which to me is honestly the biggest gift from this pandemic. Oh my goodness, that we connect every single day. I mean, it's just, it's such a gift. I cannot emphasize enough this community we have. I know so many of our Power Hour friends are watching right now and have invited friends to be here live. And then you also learn how to become a health educator and a business builder. You'll learn how to share these things. And here's the thing, you don't have to become an expert like me. This program, this presentation is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. So if you're watching the presentation on YouTube, you already know this. But for those that are watching live, you'll be able to share what I share with other people, and you don't have to be the expert. Right? You're going to help them connect with the products that they need for themselves and their families. Yeah, the community's been, wrong way. Okay, so I just want to finish up. So these are the products that I reviewed during the presentation. So I reviewed those. So if you're like, there was a product and I liked it, I can't remember what it is. So I'm going to review for you, go right back to the beginning. So we had the Fiber G, the HEPA Plus, which was the liver support, digestive enzymes, the USANA probiotic. That's a 14 stick pack. So that if you're taking it every other day, it's going to be 1 box will last you a month. But if you're taking it every day as I do, you need 2 boxes a month. The USANA Whole Bio Bar. The Nutrimeal Free, I mentioned quickly in passing, it is my favorite of the USANA Nutrimeal products because it's gluten-free, dairy-free, fructose-free, and soy-free. So it's very good for those that have sensitive tummies. And I mentioned the oral care line. Some of you might not have even known that USANA had an oral care line, but it's so, critically, important that you take care of that oral cavity as well. And, a great question that came through is, should somebody feel a difference when they're taking the product? And that is such an individual thing. And here's the thing. A great example to know whether these products are making a difference or not is that write in a journal or a note in your phone. How do I feel today? What's bothering me? How do I feel after I eat? How many times a day am I pooping, or how many times a week? How's my mood? How's my energy? How's my recovery from workouts? Do I have the energy? Am I bouncing out of bed, or am I dragging my butt? Like, write all these things down, so that you know how you feel before you start on these sauna products or you add a new product. And then in a month, in 60 days, in 90 days, a year later, check back, because sometimes it's the little things that you didn't notice have changed. You just forgot about them, and you forget the way you felt before you started on the USANA products. So that's what I would say. Okay, so this is me. There's supposed to be a really cool picture of me here, but there isn't. So there, just a blank screen with how to contact me. This is where you can find me. I'm mostly on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter are the places where I hang out the most. My website, my non-USANA website, I don't want to share my USANA website with you because I want you to get that from the person who invited you to this presentation. But I do have if you like my photos behind me, if you want to check out my cards and my book for gratitude, wakeupwithgratitude.com. If you want to get inspiration in your inbox every week, gratitude love letter. I do a lifestyle upgrade every week. I share different USANA products in my newsletter, but no worries. If a client ever came through and was connected to somebody else, I would absolutely send them your way. We are in a very, the way we work in USANA is we support each other and we help each other out. And the last thing I would want to do is to connect with someone who's already connected to another amazing associate. So if you're watching this and you're really excited, don't get in touch with me. Get in touch with the person who invited you to this presentation. Ask them your questions. Let them, help you get connected, whether it's to be a part of the team, whether it's to use the products, whatever applies to you, we're here to support you. So, all right, friends, it's been such a joy. Thank you so much. And stay tuned. I promise I will share the YouTube link very, very soon.